Since 2023, not a single Ukrainian soldier has died inside a CV90. Not one. In a war where crews burn alive inside BMPs and Bradley's limp home half melted, Sweden's combat vehicle 90 became something else entirely. A fortress that moves, fights, and refuses to die. Ukrainian soldiers now call it the Scandinavian Beast. And that beast has changed everything. It's not just another infantry fighting vehicle, it's a machine that turned one brigade into one of Europe's most lethal mechanized units. A system that rewired Ukrainian tactics, terrified Russian commanders, and forced NATO to rethink what survivability really means. What follows is a battlefield autopsy of a weapon system that's rewriting modern mechanized warfare, kilometer by kilometer. And the story starts with the one thing that matters most in Ukraine's killing fields: who lives and who burns. Since the first CV90 rolled onto the Ukrainian front in 2023, it has built a record that sounds impossible. Not a single crew member has died inside one. Not one. In a war where BMP crews are incinerated by FPV drones and burned alive in thin steel boxes, this Swedish machine has done something almost unnatural. It keeps its people alive. Ukrainian soldiers whisper about it with a mix of awe and disbelief. You take a hit, smoke fills the cabin, alarms scream, and then you realize you're still here. So how does a 25-ton vehicle shrug off death so easily? Let's start with the design. The CV9040C variant that Sweden sent to Ukraine is engineered like a layered survival capsule. Mines explode, propellant burns, drones strike, and the crew compartment stays intact. Its ammunition isn't stored in the open like Soviet IFVs. When the turret is hit, the propellant burns off instead of detonating, venting flames outward rather than inward. In most other vehicles, that kind of impact means instant cremation. Inside a CV90, it's just another close call. Frontline footage shows the absurd truth. Lancet drones slamming into the hull, FPVs smashing into the beak, explosions kicking up dirt, and the vehicle driving away. One soldier counted 5 drone hits in a single day. 5. The crew finished the mission. Even anti-tank mines, the invisible killers of Ukraine's eastern front, rarely do more than rattle the seats. CV90s have survived detonations of 2 mines in a row without losing a single operator. One driver said, "It feels like someone punched the ground, then you just keep moving." Every blast that fails to kill its crew rewrites the psychology of this war. Russia's soldiers call their own BMPs coffins. Ukraine calls the CV90 a fortress on tracks. But here's the question that now haunts Russian commanders. If you can't kill the crew, how do you stop the machine that carries them? And yet, protection alone doesn't make Russia afraid. Firepower does. When a CV90 opens fire, the sound roars. A mechanical scream that Ukrainian soldiers describe in one word: chainsaw. The Bofors 40mm L70 autocannon, mounted in the CV90's squat angular turret, spits out 5 rounds every second, 300 per minute, each round moving fast enough to punch through light armor, bunkers, or the walls of a house. One gunner mentioned, "It tears things apart. You see a trench line, you fire, and it's just gone." The gun's range stretches to 3 kilometers in direct fire, but Ukrainian crews have learned to push it even further. They've begun using the cannon for indirect fire, arcing shells over ridgelines and tree belts up to 7 kilometers away. This wasn't in the manual, it was battlefield innovation. One crewman said, "We taught ourselves, why wait for artillery when you can reach them yourself?" And that lesson spread fast across Donetsk and Luhansk. Russian positions once shielded from line of sight now find themselves shredded by the CV90's unseen hand. That's why Russian troops have started treating CV90s like apex predators, spot one, and every gun turns to it. Drones are redirected, artillery coordinates are called in. Kill it before it kills everything else. But Ukrainian commanders anticipated that fear and turned it into a weapon. CV90s roll forward first, drawing enemy fire. "Descent! Ground!" shouts the commander, and infantry spill out behind the vehicle's shadow. As the Russians fixate on the armored beast, Ukrainian troops flank under the thunder of the 40mm cannon, a storm so dense that even tank crews hesitate to raise their heads. For the first time since the war began, Ukrainian armor is dictating behavior. That terror isn't just range or caliber. It's what the vehicle sees before it kills. If you're enjoying this deep dive, please like the video and consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us bring more global insights. Now, back to the video. When night falls over eastern Ukraine, most vehicles go blind, but not the CV90. Inside its turret, the commander and gunner stare into thermal vision feeds so sharp they can spot a man breathing behind a tree line. Both stations work independently, two hunters scanning from the same machine. Another Ukrainian gunner said, "There's no difference between night and day. We just fight the same, maybe even better, in the dark." That's pure engineering. The CV90's third-generation thermal imagers and panoramic optics give it a full 360-degree field of awareness. The laser rangefinder can tag targets up to 6 miles away, measuring distance and trajectory before the enemy even realizes it's been seen. A second later, the fire control system does the math: wind, movement, angle, and the cannon responds with inhuman precision. It's not uncommon for CV90s to destroy targets they never physically see, using thermal echoes or reflected heat signatures. Russian vehicles, often running outdated optics, can't fight what they can't spot. That imbalance has become psychological. When darkness falls, Ukrainian troops move with confidence, while Russian positions brace for an attack they literally can't see coming. The CV90 turns night, is once the great equalizer, into an ally. Its crew doesn't wait for light, they create it through technology, turning visibility into dominance and dominance into survival. Because in this war, one rule has proven absolute: seeing first is winning first, but staying unseen is survival. On the Ukrainian front, where every drone sees everything, the CV90 is the one thing the sky can't find. Wrapped in Sweden's Barracuda mobile camouflage system, the vehicle bends perception. Its layered mesh skin scatters heat, breaks up radar signatures, and warps its outline against the terrain under thermal lenses. The CV90 looks like another patch of cold earth. As one operator mentioned, they can see everything except us. That's not a myth. Drone footage proves it. Lancets searching for armored columns glide over CV90 positions without reacting. The heat signature, too faint, the shape too distorted. Even satellite scans struggle to lock onto them and stand by. And when drones finally spot the outline, it's usually seconds before a storm of 40mm shells erases the operator's signal feed. Ukrainian CV90s come equipped with electronic warfare suites that jam the frequencies FPV drones rely on. The moment an operator tries to dive, the control link cuts out and the drone veers off, dead in the air. Then there's the vehicle's laser warning receiver, a silent guardian. When enemy rangefinders or missile designators lock on, the system screams a split-second warning. In that heartbeat, the crew reacts by deploying smoke, shifting position, firing back, and the result? Russian anti-tank gunners are left staring into a cloud, wondering if their target even existed. In modern warfare, being unseen is as lethal as firing first, and the CV90 is built for both all that protection and precision would mean little without the right hands to wield it. And those hands belong to Ukraine's 21st Mechanized Brigade. There's one Ukrainian brigade that doesn't fight like the others. It moves differently, it coordinates differently, it kills differently. That's the 21st Separate Mechanized Brigade, the first Ukrainian unit built almost entirely on Swedish steel. Every element of it feels Scandinavian. STRV-122 tanks, Sweden's enhanced Leopard 2 A5s, take the lead. Archer self-propelled howitzers deliver precision artillery from miles away. And between them, like the muscles connecting bone to bone, move the CV90s carrying infantry, covering armor, and dictating the tempo of entire battles. The brigade was forged for Ukraine's toughest terrain, the forests of Crimea, the frozen approaches to Bakhmut, the churned mud of Kupiansk, and the open killing fields near Terny. Where other units fight to survive, the 21st fights to dominate. Their tactics look like textbook NATO doctrine: combined arms in motion. CV90s advance with Leopards, dismounting infantry under the protection of 40mm fire, then pulling back just in time for artillery to finish what the cannon started. When Russian forces launched furious counterattacks near Crimea in late 2023, this brigade became the hinge that held the entire line's CV90s absorbed wave after wave of drones, artillery, and armor, holding firm while other Ukrainian brigades pushed offensives around Bakhmut and Zaporizhia. Their endurance in the north bought freedom in the south. Soldiers from neighboring units started calling them the quiet professionals. CV90s and Leopards talk to each other through NATO standard comms, something no Soviet-era system could dream of. And the result is mechanical choreography, a war fought with precision timing instead of brute force. Every kilometer gained by the 21st proves a new truth. Technology doesn't just add power, it changes how power moves. The CV90 didn't just join Ukraine's army, it rewired it from within. And when the machine proves itself in blood, politics follows steel. Wars don't just consume weapons, they forge industries. And by 2024, Sweden's quiet decision to arm Ukraine had snowballed into one of the most ambitious defense projects in modern Europe. It began in early 2023 when Stockholm donated 50 CV90s to Ukraine, a gesture that seemed symbolic at the time. But those machines started coming back from the front battered, scorched, and still running. Reports of 0 crew fatalities reached defense ministries across Europe. Suddenly, the CV90 wasn't just another vehicle in NATO's catalog, it was a proven war survivor. And by 2024, the ripple became a wave. Denmark and the Netherlands joined Sweden in funding new production runs for Ukraine. Copenhagen poured 1.8 billion Danish kroner, about $264 million into the program. The Hague added 400 million euros more. Then came the big leap. In December 2024, Sweden and Denmark signed a $2.5 billion contract with BAE Systems Hägglunds for 205 new CV90-35 Mark IIICs, with 40 of them specifically reserved for Ukraine. These weren't just replacements, they were the most advanced CV90s ever built. AI-assisted fire control, upgraded armor, and new generation D-series turrets. But the real revolution wasn't in Sweden's factories, it was in Ukraine's. In August 2023, Sweden and Ukraine quietly signed a bilateral agreement to start local CV90 production, targeting 1,000 vehicles built on Ukrainian soil. For the first time, a NATO standard combat vehicle would roll off Ukrainian assembly lines. The deal meant Ukraine would no longer depend entirely on Western shipments. It would manufacture its own future, one armored hull at a time. A factory became a strategy, a Swedish design became a Ukrainian industry. But building them isn't enough. They have to outperform every rival on the battlefield. For the first time in modern warfare, two Western infantry fighting vehicles, the American M2 Bradley and the Swedish CV90, are fighting side by side under the same flag and on Ukraine's front lines. That sparked an inevitable question. Which one rules the battlefield? Both are lethal. Both are legends in their own right. But the differences start with the way they move. The Bradley at roughly 28 tons feels like a tank that happens to carry infantry. The CV90 weighing 23 to 25 tons feels alive, agile, fast, more hunter than hauler. Ukrainian crews say the contrast is immediate. The Bradley's a tank, the CV90's a predator. That agility shows where it matters most: mud, snow, and frozen ground. Designed for Sweden's Arctic swamps, the CV90 eats through terrain that bogs down heavier vehicles. Its extra road wheel, newer transmission, and higher reverse speed let it dance in and out of combat zones where the Bradley needs brute force to push through. Then there's the bite. The CV90's 40mm Bofors cannon hits harder than the Bradley's 25mm Bushmaster, enough to shred fortifications and light armor in seconds. But the American platform carries a trump card: TOW anti-tank missiles with longer range and heavier punch. It's a duel of philosophies. Precision autocannon versus standoff missile kill. Still, the Swede brings one weapon, the Bradley doesn't: invisibility. The Barracuda multispectral camouflage makes the CV90 nearly invisible to drones and thermal sensors, while the Bradley, for all its armor, still shines hot under enemy optics. In the end, the Bradley is the workhorse, a reliable brawler. The CV90 is the predator, a ghost that kills and vanishes. Together, they form a new kind of combined arms language. One American muscle, one Swedish instinct. Predators evolve, and evolution never stops at the factory floor. The CV90's evolution didn't end on the factory line, it just began there. The newest variant, the CV90-35 Mark IIIC, is less a vehicle and more a learning organism. It's fitted with AI-assisted fire control systems that calculate trajectory, movement, and target behavior faster than any human could react. The system doesn't just help the gunner aim, It predicts, corrects, and refires before the enemy can even shift position. Mounted above its turret is a new set of electro-optical mast sensors, known as COPS-L, the vehicle's second set of eyes. They can peek over ridges, scan from cover, and share live targeting data across units in practice. That means one CV90 can see an entire platoon. When paired with Sweden's encrypted data links, these sensors turn a formation of CV90s into a networked swarm, a formation that sees, thinks, and strikes as one. Then comes the next leap: integration of Spike LR2 anti-tank guided missiles and the Iron Fist active protection system. The Spike gives it long-range kill power, the Iron Fist gives it near immunity, knocking down incoming rockets mid-air, pending final clearances. These upgrades could make the Mark IIIC variant one of the most sophisticated armored platforms on Earth, a vehicle that fights both offensively and defensively at machine speed. By late 2025, Ukraine fields around 55 to 65 CV90s, but newer waves are already inbound. Smarter, faster, deadlier. And each new batch brings another iteration of battlefield intelligence, another layer of survivability, another reminder that this isn't just evolution, it's acceleration. What began as a donation has become a doctrine, and that's what started as a Swedish donation has rippled across an entire continent. For NATO planners, Ukraine became the ultimate test site, and the CV90 passed with honors. Its performance validated not just the vehicle, but the entire Western concept of warfare: precision over mass, survivability over expendability, data over numbers. Every mile it rolled proved that modern wars aren't won by sheer quantity, but by technology that thinks faster and saves lives. That validation earned Ukraine a seat at the table. In September 2025, Switzerland approved Ukraine's entry into the CV90 Club. The exclusive consortium of nations that operate and co-develop the platform's membership means access to shared logistics, maintenance, spare parts, and NATO-grade interoperability. It also means Ukraine now shapes, not just receives, Western defense innovation. And then came the symbolism. Standing beside Swedish officials, President Volodymyr Zelensky summed up what the CV90 truly represents. Everything powerful that serves us now, we must localize and produce. That single sentence closed the loop. The CV90 isn't just a Western import, it's Ukraine's graduation into Western defense architecture, a frontline partner, not a client. Because in the end, the CV90 isn't just a machine, it's a message. What if one machine could change how an entire army fights? What if survival itself became a weapon? The CV90 didn't just survive the war, it rewrote it. It turned protection into doctrine, precision into dominance, and Western engineering into a Ukrainian instinct. Every hit it took and kept moving, every crew that walked away from fire and steel whispered the same verdict: the Soviet age of expendable armor is over. So what replaces it? A new generation of machines that don't just absorb punishment, they think, adapt, and endure. And as the next wave of CV90s rolls out from Swedish and Ukrainian lines, one question lingers over every battlefield. If one Scandinavian Beast can do this much alone, what happens when there are hundreds of them? If you found this analysis valuable, please consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into geopolitics. We would love to hear your thoughts. Drop your comments below and let us know what you think. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.